China. Right, I'm going to get going here because I've got to get a lot of things into half an hour. Don't want to go over half an hour. That last one nearly did. Like I say, Black Lives Matter thing I did a couple of seconds ago. Now, nobody really paid much attention to China. Recently, you know, what they've been doing, they've taken a leaf out of Mein Kampf, Hitler's book. Take things very, very slowly, and nobody really notices till it's too late. And most politicians around the world have secretly read this, and that's what they do. Firearms in the UK take their liberties one step at a time. Eventually, it's all gone. Add more little laws, add more little things for each firearms place. Gone. That's how it works. Now, COVID-19 brought attention to China. They tried to cover it up. Didn't work. How, we still don't know how it got round the world as quick as it did. It's almost like it was planted. It was almost like Chinese government told all its agents, here's a file of COVID-19. When we say go, dump it. That's what it looks like. But let's just say it went on its own. People travelling, whatever. Okay, we'll just give them the benefit of the doubt. Death figures. People not quite dead yet, being taken away in body bags. What is that? One woman came out screaming, you know, there were people not dead. They were kicking in the body bags and screaming. And she wasn't seen again after that, because the Chinese idiot dictators, we're not talking about the Chinese people here, we're talking about the people who run it, the idiot dictators. Right, they think we're stupid. They think because they're government and high up, they must be far superior to us. Now, they might be very, very superior to, make sure there's nobody about. I keep hearing funny noises. We're under surveillance the whole time, so we have to watch for undesirables. Anyway, yeah, so we don't know their right figures because you can't trust anything the government in China say. You know, if they say something's black, it's bound to be white. Not relating to Black Lives Matter. But anyway, basically they covered up the figures. Cell phone figures, I think I've covered this already in another video. 21 million cell phone users went offline. Now 21 million isn't an awful lot when you've got 1.3 billion known people in China. That's known. So, you know, the figures, everything's wrong. So next thing you know, it's all cleared up in China, but we've all still got it with our deaths every day rocketing. It's almost like they've picked on the countries they don't like to drop the most virus in. Anyway, let's just say that didn't happen. Let's look at the other things. Now this has spotlighted China to all the other things they're doing, not the Chinese people. This is the government. Communist, don't care whether it's communist or not. Government, what they're doing. Let's have a look. They're taking land. South China Sea, big dispute going on. Don't bother to follow international guidelines. They say South China Sea is theirs. They've made 6 islands, I think it is, put a military base on each, thrown out the Philippine people who are disputing it. And just recently, Subic Bay military base has come under for sale, and they now want that in the Philippines. Obviously the Philippines aren't going to let them have it because they've already stolen land. Now this is mainly because there's lots of minerals and stuff in the South China Sea, and obviously and oil, and I think they want to try and get that. But you know, they're trying to establish an air restriction zone where you have to get permission to go through. You know, that's getting outrageous. So, and people who had land on some of these islands are turning up to find a fence and a big gate and a Chinese guard. No, sorry, you can't come here. They've dug through reefs, smashed the reefs just to get their ships in, and they build airports, ports, islands that have been occupied by Filipinos and other nationalities on the other side, have been surrounded by warships and told that no ships can come in. They're surrounding the islands with ships. So that's one bad thing. Now further away, islands with their own little governments, they're sending their agents to get the governor of the island or whatever it is into a hotel room and offering him $1 million. Now that's probably $1 million more dollars than he would get in his whole lifetime. You know, so of course he's saying yeah, and they're promising employment for the people, and yeah, everything's hunky-dory. They come and build the base, lots of employment, lots of money for the governor. They say they'll do this, that and the other, build schools and all that. The real reason is to have a base there. They've got a base. So what are they doing? You know, nobody knows yet. They're gradually making their way around the world, one little piece at a time, like in Hitler's Mein Kampf. So we get to Africa. They're building stuff for the Africans, getting all the contracts. Don't know whether they're doing a good job or not, but lots of other little things going on around while they do that. You know, bribing, basically. Bribing. Now we get to, yeah, the Subic Bay thing. I think the Americans are going to take Subic Bay back. That's in the Philippines. That was a huge base. Sea base, basically. So now we get to the goods coming over. Now I don't know about you, but I've never had something Chinese that's carried on working for very long, and that's because, you know, failure is inbuilt to a lot of these things, and whereby traditional methods have used certain materials which they know can either be replaced or whatever, Chinese haven't bothered doing that. They think, oh, we'll just use a metal. Like I had a set of socket sets from China once. They couldn't even spell duty right. And they were cast. In other words, as soon as you put a bit of effort on a spanner, it snaps. It's the end of it. Things like that. Who's making this stuff? You know, some factories basically bring workers in miles away from their families. They're allowed to sleep on the factory floor for rent, and they're paid, some of them are paid in vouchers that they can only use in the shop and the factory. So they can't even, and then the office sends a little bit of money back to the family, just enough for them to survive. So these people are working around the clock, 18 hours, for next to nothing. Then they're making these goods and then they're sending them to us. And pretty much hardly anything gets here either, which is another problem. So, yeah, the labour thing. Then we get another thing here, Hong Kong. They said Hong Kong would remain under its own rule. Because of the rioters, obviously rioting against China trying to get in and change things, they've put in this security thing whereby people can be arrested and be taken back to the mainland. Now that is going against everything the original agreement said. And, of course, companies are pulling out. I mean, why be in Hong Kong when you can be in Singapore or somewhere and not have your citizens arrested? I think there's 65,000 Americans there, 1,200 American companies, mainly to do with finance, making the place really rich, and the Chinese wanted to reduce it to a Chinese village, basically. So, yeah, so they're putting their thumb down and basically going back on what they said, because they can. They don't care what we think, you know, except when it comes to us buying stuff. Africa, like I say, contracts in Africa, they're getting all that. Now, the other problem we got is Chinese agents, mainly to do with embassies, getting what they want for Chinese companies by lobbying government members. By lobbying, you know, they pay them a little consultancy fee, usually very big, and they say, oh yes, I'll make sure your company gets in. They're not bothered. You know, as we know, politicians are normal people. So, yeah, there's this problem of lobbying, Chinese lobbyists. Chinese saying, you know, they use the racist card. They say, oh, if you don't take our company, you're racist. Yeah, so it seems to have turned around. You know, what you do, you win your right to be the same as everybody else, and then you use a racist card when you want something. Anyway, that's only happened a few times as far as I know. But there you go, that's the what the lobbyists are doing at the moment. When my father, he was the business envoy for Sweden, for the Foreign Office, and he used to get approached by lots of different people, mainly Islamic, saying, here's a big brown paper bag full of £50 notes. My mate's company, we need him in Sweden. Don't take that British company on or that Swedish company. My mate, take him on. They're good, you know. Of course, he's got this money and you think, God, blimey, 5 times more than his wages. I suppose I could look into it. So even if he looks into it and finds it not quite up to the standard of the others, he'll still put it in case he gets another backhander. My dad never did that. He refused, especially because when he was an ambassador in Indonesia when the riots attacked the embassy. He was noted, he got the knighthood for basically saving everyone in the embassy. So he knows all about Islam and you know what it's capable of. But that's another thing. Doesn't include all the other good Islamists, I'll just hasten to add. Anyway, we get back to this lobbying thing. Now what's happened, the brown envelope handed between people doesn't exist anymore, because once you put it in the bank, it's traceable. Unless you keep it at home and take out a £50 note every now and again. You know? But so it's now gone to offshore. So you'll find a lot of politicians have got offshore accounts which they can't explain why they've got them. Now this is obviously to accept the backhanders. So it's usually a middleman agency. So you won't be dealing with directly with Hamas or the Jizya Fund or anything like that. You'll be dealing with an agency which says it promotes businesses. So then they say to you, we will deposit this much into your offshore account provided you support this. So that's what the Chinese are doing, but big time. You know, they've got people talking to people the whole time, all from Chinese embassies, all Communist Party members, all going in. So that's pretty much China in a nutshell. Apart from that, all the people who I've seen going who have been on holiday there say how fantastic, great cultural experience, Great Wall of China obviously, the people are fantastic, but you know, it's a huge amount of people being marred by just a small amount of people who stay in control. As we see, Tiananmen Square, they forced their soldiers to shoot students. You know, that's what they're capable of. And the fact is they're still there. You know, so it's unbelievable. Right, okay, that's the end of the China session.